Hello and welcome to Talkernate History, the podcast where we,
Matt
and Max, talk about works of alternate history scenarios, and history in general. This episode, we're going to be talking about yet another Mike Resnick short story compilation.
Alternate Warriors.
Alternate Warriors. And what a compilation this was.
It's a really good compilation. It's got some great stuff in it. It's also got probably the best book cover of all time.
Probably, yeah, I would say so. For those who can't see, it's a muscled up Gandhi. You know, his face is the same Gandhi, but his body is clearly like Sylvester Stallone, basically. He also looks like he's on the cover of Rambo 3 because he's got a big RPG.
Yeah.
And like a bandolier of bullets across his chest.
And he's got the Rambo bandana.
Yeah, big red bandana. It's great.
It's like my favorite book cover of all time. Like, it's just amazing.
I mean, it got me to read it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are people who bought that book entirely because they saw the cover and they're like, well, I got to read this. And there's like a giant explosion in the back.
When I went to the bookstore looking for a copy of Alternate Presidents, I was in the alternate section and I saw that and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. I got to get this.
It is. Oh, God, I love that book. Well, we're going to go through some of the stories in there, and there's some good ones.
Yeah.
I like this compilation.
A huge scope, absolutely huge scope, thousands of years of time between all of these stories.
As it should, because Alternate Presidents is necessarily limited from 1789 to, really, in that book's about 1988 because of the time that it's 200 years. We can really spread it out here.
And it's all America, whereas this is all over the world, all kinds of places.
Yeah, absolutely. So which one shall we start with first, Max?
Well, I think we should probably go through just like the order they are in the book. They're not chronologically in order. They're just kind of randomly spliced all over the place. Yeah. But I think the first story in the compilation is by our guy, Mike Resnick. And this is a real starting a show with a showstopper.
It's a good one. I don't know how to pronounce this word exactly. I think it's Mwalimu. Mwalimu in the squared circle.
Yeah. Mwalimu is the president or the prime minister of Tanzania. And the story is about a boxing match between him and Ugandan leader Idi Amin.
It's Julius Nayeri.
Yeah.
Tanzania.
Mwalimu is his nickname. It means teacher in his native language because he was like this native guy who was illiterate. And he, learned to read and became this much more worldly, much more intelligent person and rose up to be the leader of his country.
And the whole point so it's basically about a boxing match between the two of them, which is refereed by Muhammad Ali. And the funny thing about it is this is actually Idi Amin, when he was fighting with Tanzania, was like, well, let's settle this. Like, you and I should have a boxing match refereed by Muhammad Ali. And of course, everyone was just like, well, that's stupid.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, but Mike Resnick thinks it's worth a story, and it's a great one.
And this is a thing that happened in real life. It's just so crazy.
Well,
Yes, of course. Like, who knows if he probably wouldn't have actually done it. But I mean,
of course not.
Well, I mean, even if they did actually do it, he obviously would have won because he's like 100 pounds heavier. He's taller. He has a stronger reach. And Idi Amin was an actual boxer in the King's African Rifles. Yeah. He was like a boxing champion.
A heavyweight champion, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas Nayeri is like this tiny, thin little guy.
Yeah. But this story is pretty good. It's, as you expect, he's getting the crap beat out of him, Nayeri, because Idi Amin is just like, he was a boxer.
Yeah. He's got one arm tied around his back and weights on his hands, which honestly, I think if your hand is heavier, you probably actually punch harder. But
if you land the punch, it's going to hurt more.
But you're slower, so...
Well, either way, Nayeri gets the crap beat out of him.
Yeah, and it's really funny because at the end of the story, he tries two strategies. One of them is that while, in between rounds, he draws a snake on his boxing glove and then, comes out and says something in his native language and then strikes him in the belly. And I guess Idi Amin thinks he's been cursed or something for, a split second. And then realizes that it was a trick. And he's like, ha, 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 you can't defeat me. I'll give you one last punch. Anywhere you want. Punch me anywhere you want, Nayeri. Anywhere. And then Nayeri punches him in the crotch. Yes. And that's the end of the story.
Yeah, basically it's implied that he gets killed in this match.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's like, he knew he was going to die in the ring that night, but he decided to do the one thing, his one shot. Making it count.
That's right. But the whole point is, like, he's kind of saying at the end, like, this will inspire my people to, like, defeat Idi Amin.
Right.
But, because, like, Nayeri was known to be, like, he did all these, like, I don't know how successful these projects were, but, like, building, like, different communities and, like, trying to build up the country. Is this, like...
Like making these communities based on the kibbutz or whatever, right?
Yeah, kind of like that. I don't know if they were successful, but I don't think they were. But either way, he's like known as this very like supposed to be like an intellectual, like soft-spoken, not in the boxing ring with Idi Amin. Excuse me, Forrest Whitaker.
Yes, Forrest Whitaker. What a film that is. Last King of Scotland.
It's a great movie.
I think it's a good movie. My least favorite part is the British guy.
Yeah.
Get out of this movie. Let it be all about Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker is so overpowering because he's so good.
He's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
But yeah, that's a good one. That's a fun one. And I think it's like, it perfectly encapsulates, like, if you're going to do a little bit off-kilter alternate history, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
You do something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's no aliens, no craziness, stuff like that. But
this could have happened.
Yes.
Like, it could have happened.
Yeah.
It's insane, but, that's why it's alternate warriors.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole fun of it. The least likely person becoming, like,
Yeah. Yeah, pretty funny. It was just like kind of ridiculous scenario. So,
Nayeri had a Hitler mustache as well, by the way.
that's right. That's weird.
It is weird, just like
Michael Jordan kind of had one.
And Bobby Mugabe as well.
Bobby Mugabe.
His was very, very thin and hard to see, but he had one.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Who's next?
The next story is Jane's Fighting Chips, which is about Jane Austen, of all things.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. In this story, it's a story where Napoleon has conquered Britain. Jane Austen is living under French occupation, and she's pretty unhappy about it. She doesn't like it. And, she hates Napoleon. And Napoleon's coming to Britain on, like, a diplomatic journey. And while Napoleon's there, she meets up with Davy Crockett.
Good old Davy.
Good old Davy. It's this is a romance story, basically, because the two of them, like, fall in love, and Davy recruits her into being basically a terrorist. Like, she convinces Napoleon she's going to write a book about him, and then they have a personal meeting, and she hands him a clock with a bomb inside of it.
A raccoon-shaped clock.
A raccoon, yes, because that's a plot point. Like, Davy tells her a story about raccoons or whatever, so... and he just so happened to have this raccoon-shaped clock with him as well. So,
God,
what a weird story.
Well, it's just so... It's also the first time Jane Austen's ever been interesting. And if you got a problem with that, I don't care.
I remember back when we did sports, we were on a bus from, like, a meet or whatever, and the coach, our female coach, just decided she wanted to play Pride and Prejudice on the bus. And it's like, what are you doing?
So boring.
Stop it.
It's the worst.
Why? Absolutely why?
I mean, if you like it, good for you, but not for me.
This is not the first time that someone's tried to kill Napoleon with a bomb, though.
Yeah, that's true.
When he was a consul, they, I think a bunch of royalist whites got this carriage filled with explosives, this timed bomb or whatever, and he just barely got away just by dumb luck. He just happened to turn down the wrong street, and then the whole thing blows up and almost kills him.
Interesting. As they used to call it, a horological torpedo.
What?
That's what they used to call, like, time bombs.
Huh. Oh, yeah, because it's like that old saying, damn the torpedoes.
Yeah, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. He's talking about mines.
Yeah, exactly, which always confused me when I was a kid. It's like, why is there torpedoes with sailing ships? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Loose one from the tubes.
There's a guy inside of it with, like, a hand crank and, like...
Oh, my goodness. But yeah, in this one, they try to kill him with the raccoon bomb.
And it's implied that he doesn't die, because it's a really small bomb.
Yeah.
It's just meant to spook him a little bit. Because Davy Crockett doesn't like Napoleon, because Napoleon doesn't sell the Louisiana territory in this story. He's holding on to it, and pioneer men like him don't like that.
How else is he going to die at the Alamo? How else is he going to be portrayed by both John Wayne and Billy Bob Thornton?
And whoever played him in that Disney, TV show from, like, a million years ago.
Oh, Fess Parker.
Best part. What? How do you know? How do you know that?
I used to watch those.
Yeah, Davy.
I remember that Davy Crockett. And then him and the other, he gets shot. He's like fighting at the end, and he's like, you know, like hitting all these people with a Kentucky rifle and all that. You know? Yeah, he killed a bear when he was only 3. Don't think so.
Don't think so. Is that in the theme song?
Yeah, it's in the theme song. I mean, like that thing. Like people forget how anyone who is younger than like 70 probably forgets that was such a huge thing in like the late 50s, early 60s. Like Davy Crockett, like coonskin caps, and that was a huge like thing. They even named a piece of artillery Davy Crockett. Oh. You ever heard? It's like a nuclear piece of artillery, which is pretty hilarious.
That's right. One of those.
A Davy Crockett, yeah.
One of those is in Metal Gear Solid 3. A guy shoots it at like a Soviet weapons facility from a helicopter.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Nice. But not a great idea.
No, not really. Not really. Well, when I was a little kid and I went to Disneyland, I got like a coonskin cat.
Mm-hmm. I did too.
Yeah.
You go to Frontier World or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, long story short, he's an interesting character. Mm-hmm. He was a congressman.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, David Crockett was a congressman.
Doesn't seem like the congressman type, but okay, cool.
No. It was a different, like Kentucky, Tennessee in those days was a different world. Mm. But
also in this story, it mentions that he's come on a diplomatic visit to Britain to meet Napoleon with a man named Clay. Maybe Henry Clay?
Henry Clay.
Oh my God, he's back again.
I don't know.
Love that guy.
He always comes crawling back. It really is remarkable he wasn't president.
Yeah.
You know.
If there's anyone to do an alternate president story about, it's him.
Yeah, but it would be boring, probably, because it would just be like talking about tariffs and stuff like that.
Well, just have the divergence be Henry Clay is the president, and then go forward 300 years in the future. Just like Black Earth and Destiny. It's like, what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah, everything has tariffs on it. Everything has tariffs. The wigs are everywhere.
The Whigs have had a 200-year winning streak.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's time for the Democratic Republicans. Actually, it was, the Democratic Republicans. At one point, there really was no party other than the Democratic Republicans, and then it kind of split.
Yeah. And then
it became the Democrats and then the Whigs.
That's why, Andrew Jackson, he used to be known as the father of the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
because that's where the Democrats come from. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, not so much. They don't really talk. Democrats don't really talk about Andrew Jackson very much anymore.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
No one talks about Henry Clay either.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
It's because of their adamant opposition to canals.
The Erie Canal specifically?
Yeah. Oh, they hate it. They just hate it.
It was kind of a waste of time.
It actually helped. It did.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because you could get ships. In the days really before. Remember in the 1830s and stuff like that. Like railroad was still in its infancy. It wasn't until about the 1840s, 1850s is when you see railroads start to really become big.
Well,
because before that, it really had to be ship.
If you're gonna do an alternate thing, Clay, and then
tariffs everywhere,
trains everywhere, trains. Everyone goes to work by train now.
Good old trains.
Good old trains. I've ridden on a train probably less than 10 times in my life.
It depends if you're asking me counting, do you count subways or not?
Ooh, no.
Because if you're counting like a metro or subway system, I've certainly been on it more than 10 times. But overall, yeah, probably me too, like an actual, it's just not a big thing here.
Freight rail, that's what it's all about here in the
United States. Yeah, that's most rail traffic is freight rail. There's not a lot of commercial, commercial traffic. It is commercial, but not not
everyone gets in a car.
Not passenger, yeah.
Car or airplane. That's all you need, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, this one is interesting. And it made Jane Austen interesting, sort of.
Sort of. Also, I think the title is based off those Jane's books. You know those?
Yeah, like the Janes, yeah. I used to have a lot of those.
Do you ever play any of the Jane's video games?
No.
There's like Jane's Longbow Apache 2.
Nice. All you shoot is longbow missiles at tanks, I guess.
Something like that.
That's awesome.
There's like a plot to it or something. I can't remember. There's also like Idea Fighter Jet and
nice
Tomcat. Cool stuff.
Like that cartoon where the cats who were in the Tomcat.
Oh, SWAT cats.
Yes.
SWAT, not known for their jet airplanes.
Last time I checked, yeah, exactly. It'd be pretty, maybe a helicopter, but oh, we've got a hostage situation. Well, let's bring them in and let's fire a Hellfire missile at this building. Let's fire a Sparrow radar-guided anti-air-to-air missile.
Fox 2, Fox 3.
Oh, goodness.
A world where everyone's cats.
So what's next?
What's next?
Guys, bet you didn't figure we'd talk about SWAT cats in this episode.
One last thing about this Jane story. Just a quick little thing. It mentions that Napoleon is still married to Josephine. What's going on here? Because in real life, Napoleon divorced her because A, she was too old to have any kids, and having kids is important to Napoleon. And B, he wanted to make a nice
family man.
It's a real. Well, you know, he did like his son a good deal. You know, he never got to see him again after he went to Elba. But second thing is because he wanted to marry an Austrian lady to make peace with Austria. So what's going on here?
That was his last like dying breath. He did say like Josephine.
Yeah,
Something about
he
Josephine.
He liked her a lot. You know where she's from, right? Martinique. It's
Really?
like it's a French island.
Yeah, in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah. And she, when she was a little girl, she used to chew on sugarcane, and later in life, her teeth were all screwed up because of it, from like chewing on like this hard fiber, and also from all the sugar and stuff. So she would always like cover her mouth when she smiled and stuff. She's an interesting person. She also lied about her age her entire life.
Really?
Like got progressively younger as she got older. It's like she claims she's like 27 years old and she has this 15-year-old son. So it's like, don't think so.
Oh, jeez.
But interesting stuff. Next story is Taking Action. And this story is the first of 2 Martin Luther King stories in this compilation. This is a very strange story. It's like Martin Luther King's a psychic in this story, and is receiving visions of the future, dreams, if you will. He's having a dream, but these dreams are not like good dreams about white and black kids playing together and all that stuff. They're bad dreams.
Rodney King riots and Anita Hill and the Clarence Thomas thing, and
Yeah. Like basically any like really controversial thing happening to black people in like the 90s up to when this was written.
Yeah.
He sees that and he's like, man, forget this whole peace thing. I'm going to be like a violent, like crazy person and just murder people all over the place.
Yeah.
He gets like stopped by a cop and kills him with a flashlight.
Oh, jeez.
And like goes into people's, like finds KKK members and like takes them out of his house and like lynches them and stuff. It's pretty nuts. And
challenges George Wallace to a duel.
That's right.
And then he shoots him in the back as they're like before they reach the 10 paces.
What a story.
But he like insists that it's like a form of affirmative action.
Which is thus the title, Taking Action.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, wink and a nudge right there.
That was a crazy one.
You know, George Wallace ran for president.
He did. He was shot by a guy named Arthur Bremer, and he was paralyzed.
I didn't know he survived being shot.
Yeah, he died in he was shot in the 70s, but died in the 90s.
Ah, jeez. Good.
Yeah, and then he ran on a platform later of like, said he was like reformed and he wasn't a racist anymore and all this like racial unity. And he was reelected governor.
Wow.
I think so. So.
You know who ran with him for president?
Oh, when he ran for president, yeah. Curtis bombs away LeMay.
Yeah, what a guy. Air Force general during World War II.
Yeah, the leader of the 20th Air Force, the architect of the campaign to devastate the Japanese home islands, and also some guy who really, really thought we should nuke Vietnam.
Oh, no. See, now that's someone that would have actually wanted to nuke Vietnam in an alternate president story.
Curtis LeMay.
Curtis LeMay,
Yeah.
as opposed to like Goldwater, who's like, I don't know. Who knows? Who can really say?
Yeah.
But Curtis LeMay has a history of actually doing it, so that's a lot more plausible.
Yeah, exactly.
There's also a really great picture of him in a karate uniform, and he's got the words Curtis LeMay written on his black belt. It's really, really funny.
Where does that come from?
I think it's like an Air Force thing, martial arts, like after post-war.
Kia.
Kia.
Curtis LeMay in a karate gi.
It's pretty good. There's also one of him driving in a go-kart, and many of him smoking a cigar, and just good stuff, funny stuff.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So what do we have next?
This is I think, your favorite story in this collection.
Yes, because thou lovest the burning ground. And it's about the one, the only, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi.
Karamchand?
Karamchand is his middle name. Mohandas K. Gandhi. Or as the British people say in the movie Gandhi, Gandhi. Gandhi.
Mr. Gandhi.
He's Mr. Gandhi. Huh. Yeah. But this one basically, so it's a little bit of a tease, the front cover, because I was very excited to take a look at the Gandhi as Rambo. But in this one, Gandhi, when he's a young man, is kidnapped by one of the last thuggees, which is a fascinating thing. Like, and because they're kind of referenced in Indiana Jones in the not Last Crusade, Temple of Doom. There's like said to be thuggees, but like the thuggee cult is like this fascinating, bizarre death cult that the British basically were like we're like, okay, if you like to like kill people, well, we're just gonna kill all of you.
Because it's like these bands of basically thieves.
Yeah.
On the like country roads or whatever, they would ambush people and like strangle them to death.
They couldn't shed their blood, but they would kill them, and they would strangle them with these knotted, colorful like rope sash things. This thuggee kidnaps Gandhi, makes him kind of his apprentice. Like they kill a couple people, and Gandhi's like, oh. So, but Gandhi becomes a doctor. And he has this relatively normal life. And then there's the Amritsar massacre in 1919, which you see in the movie Gandhi. And that was one of the big kicking off for Gandhi, like really kicking the Indian independence movement into like full gear. And in this one, he swears revenge. And he's like, we're going to overthrow the British by killing them.
By strangling every one of them.
Yes.
And the end of the story is him meeting up with his resistance cell. And there's people of every caste, of every walk of life, and they're all united together to kill all the Anglos. Wipe them out.
It's a very well-written story. It's very interesting, but it's kind of a tease because I'm looking forward to the Gandhi with the RPG, but still, it's an interesting. I don't know if any thuggees lasted as long because Gandhi was born in 1869, and in this one he's got to be, in his like early 20s, so like puts him somewhere in like the 1890s. And I feel like the thuggee cult was dead by like the 1830s, like, and that was like the whole thing was like the guy, there's like one guy who's pretty much responsible for destroying it. And he's like, okay, you like to strangle people? Well, we'll strangle you with our ropes when we hang you. Like sort of thing like that. So, but it shows because they worship Kali, who's like the goddess of death in the Hindu pantheon of gods. And it's a fascinating thing.
It just seems odd to me.
But they were like thieves. It wasn't like some just religious. They would like rob people and kill them.
Yeah. I had an Indian history teacher once who claimed that, that's all just propaganda. That never really happened. None of that was real, which I don't know.
Nah, I think it did happen.
Yeah. I mean, Temple of Doom, the documentary. I mean, I did see that. So
that's right.
There you go.
That's right. Also, monkey brains. They don't eat that in India. Chilled monkey brains. And then a snake. Indian food is curry and biryani. It's really, really good.
What is biryani?
It's like that rice dish. It's like almost like a pilaf style rice dish with lots of stuff. Oh, so good. Makes me really hungry right now. Yeah. They don't cook snakes whole and then you eat the live little snakes that come out. They do that in that movie. It makes no sense. In monkey brains, they don't eat them.
I feel like George Lucas was basing this movie off of like cereals from the 1920s. And 30s.
Well, they were. I mean, that's what it was. It's Indiana Jones is like supposed to be like, Star Wars is kind of based off Flash Gordon and a little bit, and also, but that serial nature, like in Indiana Jones, is kind of the same thing. So, just enough to have an exotic location, but we're not going to learn enough about that exotic location to be accurate about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, Matt, you say it's not accurate, but who knows? Maybe they just didn't mention the fact that he started doing lots of steroids in between when he left the thuggee cult and became a doctor. He also did a lot of bodybuilding in between and ate his oats and did his squats. And
today's leg day.
Ate whey powder. But moving on to the next story. The next story we're just going to pass over really quick. It's called The Ballad of the Spanish Guard. It's about a guy named Federico Garcia Lorca.
Yeah, he was a playwright.
Oh, okay. I'd never heard of him.
I'd heard of him very briefly. I don't know a whole lot about him.
Apparently, this guy died during the Spanish Civil War.
He did. He disappeared, yeah. But like in this one, they tell him to, stop writing his poems, and he won't, and they kill him. And it's like, this is the problem when you can't identify what's different from reality. Like, what is the alternate version part of it? Yeah. That was a problem for me here. Maybe I could have done some more research and probably that would have shown it. But I was like, he already was supposedly killed by the nationalists anyway. So what's any different?
Yeah. Like that's the whole fun of these stories, is seeing people who were peaceful in real life and they're like, whoa, totally different and crazy. Like, you don't want to be super plausible in these stories. This is, I think, too plausible.
Yeah.
So plausible, it's like not even different from reality.
Yeah. Well, when we can't tell what's different, that's a problem.
But moving on past that, there's the Vatican outfit. This one's crazy. Absolutely ridiculous. It's written by Laura Resnick.
I think it's his daughter.
Another Resnick. But this one's a lot of fun. It's set in the 1970s, and it concerns a pope, John Paul I, I think it is.
Yeah, John Paul I.
I'd never heard of him, actually. I didn't know anything about
pope
him.
For such a short period of time before John Paul II. Well, we obviously knew there was a John Paul I because there's a John Paul II. But this is an interesting one because, he was pope for a very short period of time, and he died of this mysterious illness. And some people think he was assassinated. That may have had to do something with the Banco Ambrosiano scandal.
The what now?
Banco Ambrosiano, that was the Vatican's bank, and there was all sorts of allegations of potential connections to. There was like a guy found hanging off a bridge and craziness. But in this one, basically, the mafia comes and they're protecting him from these assassination plots. And John Paul I, who is very known to be very pacifist, becomes not so much that.
Yeah, throughout the story, he these mafiosos who are protecting him, and he's like, we need to shake some people down. We have to threaten some people. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But he starts slipping just a little bit, just start threatening people and stuff. And eventually he becomes basically a mafioso himself by the end of it. In fact, there's a gangland war between the Catholic Church and the Chicago mob at the very end.
Which is so funny because so many mobsters were very religious.
Yeah.
So,
and it's also funny too because there's a whole bunch of assassination plots against the Pope. So at one point, there's somebody put C4 under the Pope's toilet seat, which is similar to a certain film which may have come out before this book was written, called Lethal Weapon. Or is it Lethal Weapon 2?
Lethal Weapon 2.
It is Lethal Weapon 2, okay. Also the old snake in the bed thing, as seen in the film Attack of the Clones.
That's right.
Yeah.
No lightsaber to save him this time.
Not this time. Tut's wife, next story. It's about Tutankhamun's wife. So this story's set after Pharaoh Tutankhamun is dead. And the way it works in Egypt, it's matrilineal. So it's very strange. It's very different from European feudalism, but the royalty flows through the women. So if a man dies, she can marry some other guy, and that guy will become pharaoh, which is a very odd concept, to the West. But in this story, it's kind of a weird story. She, at the climactic marriage ceremony or whatever, she drugs everyone. Everyone goes insane, and she somehow is able to convince them to let her stay unmarried, and she becomes pharaoh, and she converts all of Egypt back to Atenism, which is the religion that her father, Akhenaten.
Worship of just the sun god.
Yeah, Aten, which is this disc with a bunch of hands sticking out of it.
Nice.
Akhenaten's a really interesting guy, really weird looking guy too.
Really?
Yeah. His statuary, he's got this big long face and these huge lips and stuff, and he looks kind of like an alien a little bit.
Maybe he was.
Ask Giorgio Tsoukalos.
I think we know what he's gonna say.
Look, I'm not saying it's aliens, but
aliens.
It's aliens. Yeah. and they had their own art style during his reign.
Yeah, it was very different.
Got figures with big pot bellies and thin arms and big faces and stuff. It's very
strange look.
And especially because all of Egyptian art, basically all of it, is exactly the same for 4,000 years. So,
it's a weird interlude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Egypt, fascinating.
Totally crazy stuff.
after I watched the movie The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, I was interested in Egypt for a little while. Because, I mean, that movie it's enjoyable. I mean, it's not, it's goofy. But,
Yeah. Oh, it's a very fun movie.
It's very fun. But ancient Egypt is a fascinating... what I found so interesting is that I read somewhere something, I don't know if this is true, but I think if it's not true, it's pretty close to it, that when Alexander the Great saw the pyramids when he went to Egypt in like 3-something BC, the same amount of time exists roughly between us and Alexander the Great, and from when the pyramids were built to him, which is crazy to think that they were already like 2,000 years old, ancient buildings in his era, and he's over 2,000 years ago.
In Herodotus's histories, he talks about, he goes to Egypt and he like talks to people and he sees a bunch of stuff. And his impression is that Egypt is impossibly old. They like show him the list of kings, and there's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pharaohs on this king list. And he comes to the conclusion that Egypt is the source of everything, of absolutely everything. And he thinks that all the Greek gods actually are Egyptian gods. And
really?
They came to... So even Hercules, he's like, well, Hercules must have been an Egyptian god. It's like the idea that Greeks could have thought of anything first doesn't even occur to him.
Really? Well, there was multiple Thebes. There was a Thebes in Egypt, and there was a Thebes in Greece. But yeah, no, it's fascinating how truly ancient the Egyptian civilization is that like its heyday is like, like when we're talking, like people talk about King Solomon or King David, and some people disagree whether they exist or not, but I think people kind of generally conclude at least some figure like them existed. But we're talking like 1000 BC, when we're talking like the peak of Greek civilization is like Marathon, that's like 480 or 490. Thermopylae is like 480. Alexander the Great's like 330 BC. Roman civilization before like 100 BC. The Punic Wars is a big thing in Roman civilization before that. It's like 1900 BC is like the peak of Egyptian civilization. So like it's an ancient civilization to the Romans, which are an ancient civilization to us, which is just so weird to think. And Egypt is in some ways, very proud of that. Good. Ask, what's that guy? There's that guy who used to head up like the antiquities department in Egypt.
Oh yeah,
he was like a real fun one.
A million documentaries or whatever.
Hawass. I remember saw this great thing where like they went to excavate some tomb and some air was coming out and the workers were like, oh, and he's like, oh, there's nothing to be scared of. This is ridiculous. Like there's no such thing as curses. Like, and he's just like digging in, like like
I'm a Muslim.
Oh, I don't care. Like whatever. What are you scared of? Like this can't hurt you. Like ooh, start digging.
I need museum
pieces.
I need ticket sales. Dang it! Come on.
That's right.
When you mentioned The Mummy, at first I thought you were talking about the Tom Cruise Mummy movie that came out a little while ago.
That trailer just made my life.
Where they screwed the sound up and it was just. Wasn't it no music or something?
Yeah,
like
it's just
What a bold choice on their part.
I never saw that movie. It looks stupid.
The lady who plays the mummy, I like her a lot.
Yeah,
like a lot. She's also in Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah,
she's great in that as well.
Yeah. She's like Algerian or something like that.
Is she?
Something like that. Yeah.
Huh. She's a fine actress.
Yeah, she is.
A fine actress.
Yeah, just like fine. Tom Cruise is also. He's not a bad actor.
He's not a bad actor.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's fine.
That movie, I never saw it. It looked dumb. Russell Crowe's in it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. He plays Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And they're trying to set up that monster universe thing,
right.
which that thing just sunk. And thinking about that monster universe reminds me of the movie Van Helsing, which is now on Netflix.
Oh, interesting. What a film that is as well.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, Android Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. But long story short, yeah, that didn't seem like that was going to work. And that movie just looked bad.
And I love the Universal monster movies, so it's a real shame that they made movies that were bad.
Yeah. Well, they kind of got the Mummy kind of KO'd it. I think it's pretty much dead now.
Yeah.
Because they were going to do the Invisible Man and Dracula and all that.
Gosh, who was supposed to be the Invisible Man? It's not
Benicio del Toro, right, or something like that.
No, he was the Wolf Man.
The Wolf Man.
But that was before this Dark Universe thing. No, it's the guy who always works with Tim Burton. What's his name?
Johnny Depp?
Johnny Depp, yeah. He was supposed to be the Invisible Man. They had a promo picture where they were all sitting
together.
Yeah,
I saw that. Some things are just not to be.
That'd be one of the great what ifs. If Star Wars just tanked, but the dark universe became the new standard in filmmaking.
Oh, jeez.
Let's go see Creature from the Black Lagoon too.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait. That's funny. What do we got next?
This story, Radical Feminism. What a title.
This one was...
It's about Susan B. Anthony.
Who's
Famous.
a very famous and important person.
Yeah. A prohibitionist. She didn't like drink. She wanted women to vote. But in this story, she's caught up in a violent revolution, I guess, against men in general, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's not so clear.
She gets shacked up with Victoria Woodhull, who's in one of the alternate president stories we did not talk about.
Yeah, she runs for president and wins.
Yeah, somehow. Frederick Douglass, right? Or was that the other one?
She actually ran for president, and he was the vice presidential candidate. Because at the time, even though a woman couldn't vote, there was no prohibition on a woman running for president. Just like you can't be a convicted felon to vote in most places. Okay. But you can run for president. So every year, there's some guy who runs from like federal prison. Leonard Peltier runs for president sometimes.
Okay.
Not a fan. Let me just say, people wrongfully accused. No. Yeah, they said that about everything. Also about what's that guy? There's that guy in Pennsylvania, Mumia Abul Jamal. Yeah, yeah, wrongfully accused. Yep. Yeah, tell me about that.
Did he do a DNA test and it proved he did it or something?
No, he was on death row. He murdered a police officer, and he is given a commencement speech by video, like a tape commencement speech at a college. Like, maybe I'm letting on to my political inclinations here too much, but that is absurd. Yeah. So, but the point about this is what's the goal of this?
Oh, let's get back to this in just a second, but I wanted to also point out that on the Supreme Court, you don't have to be a judge to be a Supreme Court justice. Anybody.
Technically.
Well, Congress has to approve it, but president can appoint whoever he wants.
Yeah.
It's like in that Joe Steele book, Prescott Bush becomes a Supreme Court justice, and he's like, I'm not even a lawyer. What? I don't know anything about law. You'll be fine. Don't worry.
Don't worry. Well, it's interesting. I read an article a little while back about up until a couple years ago, this U.S. Supreme Court changed its rules where they finally made it a requirement that you had to be a barred attorney to argue in front of it. And in that, they interviewed the guy, I think he's still alive, the last non-lawyer to argue his case in front of the Supreme Court. And damn it, that guy won. He actually won his case. And they interviewed him, and he's like, I think this is ridiculous. People should be able to argue their case. Which, I mean, there's no right to be pro se in appeals, at least in criminal cases. You can argue a civil case on appeal, and this guy argued his case
I guess,
on appeal.
Make law not a guild, not like this special thing that no normal person can get into without a million
Well, it's
years
become so
$1 million.
complicated that you have to kind of...
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
For it. But
like,
yeah,
why should I go to medical school to be a doctor? I've performed surgery hundreds of times. I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of, not exactly like that, but yes, kind of. I mean, but the only qualifications laid out for the president are in the Constitution, and it's age and citizenship.
Yeah,
35 years old.
I like that. I like that. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, you can't also put term limit. States cannot put term limit requirements on how long like a person can be a senator or a congressman. Actually,
really,
there's actually Arkansas back in the 90s like implemented like it said like if you were a representative you can only serve like I think it's 2 terms as a senator, like 4 terms as a representative. And they sued, and the U.S. Supreme Court was like, you got to amend the Constitution to change that. So it is legal for a state to put term limits on state senators and state representatives, which they do. Many states do that. But for federal, they're like, you got to change the Constitution because the Constitution does not like...
Yeah. I have a feeling that Congress is not going to vote for that constitutional amendment.
No, they're going to have to do the other way to amend the Constitution, which is either they either have the vote by Congress to do it or the state convention approach.
Convention?
The state, that's how they, there's the state convention approach. It's weird. But state legislature is fascinating. There is one state out there that has only one house in its legislature.
Let me guess. Is it Wyoming?
No. Close.
What
Nebraska.
Nebraska.
It's a unicameral legislature. Just a state senate. Look it up. It's true. There is no Nebraska House of Representatives. It's the Nebraska Senate. Unicameral legislature.
That's very interesting.
They should have a House of Lords.
The Princely Federation.
Yeah. Lord Johnson of Omaha.
Lord
First Viscount Lincoln.
Viscount of Okinawa.
Yeah, I joke about it. But in the Constitution says it explicitly also says, it's one of the few, there are explicit prohibitions, but it says that the U.S. Congress cannot create no titles of nobility. So, like, the U.S. Congress can never make someone the Duke of West Virginia.
That's great. The president has to do that.
No, you can't do that. But First Viscount Richmond. Just like, well, the British make people viscounts of stuff they don't own. Just like David Montgomery, the son of Bernard Montgomery, is second Viscount Alamein. Yeah. Last time I checked, El Alamein is not in the UK.
Also, they put France on their coat of arms. Like
they used to.
Lee.
Up until the 1820s, the King of England also claimed to be the King of France. Like, that was one of their titles. It was like, King George III, King of England, Scotland, and Ireland, Protector of the Faith, King of France.
Defender of the Faith.
Defender of the Faith, yeah. Which is a title that the Pope gave Henry VIII, and that they have not relinquished yet, even though England has been Protestant for kind of a while.
The Defender of the Faith that I'm in charge of.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they are going to be the Defender of the Faith no matter what, in that case, I guess. So.
Yeah, well, he got that title because he wrote a book that defended the Seven Sacraments. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, oh, by the way, hey, I'm the head now. Yeah. Well, and early, it wasn't until Edward VI, so his son, Henry VIII's Anglican Church, if you went back to when he was still the king, it basically was the Catholic Church. The liturgy was Catholic, all that stuff. It basically was the Catholic Church, but Henry VIII was the head of it. It wasn't until Edward VI implemented changes in like structural stuff. That's when I think the Book of Common Prayer comes around, where they actually started to change the liturgy and stuff like that. You know
who doesn't like the Book of Common Prayer?
Who?
Scottish people. That's when they did the Grant and Remonstrance, and they threw all those chairs and stuff. It's like, forget this. Absolutely not.
Well, the kirk there is the Church of Scotland is basically, it's Presbyterianism. Ain't no fanciness in your church services.
No statuary, no stained glass.
That's right.
No, none of that.
Nuh-uh.
Don't want none.
Boring prayer hall. Well, no, actually, I mean, it is whatever it is to you. I'm not Catholic, but I do like a good cathedral because I think it's really cool. And also, they're just insane repositories of history. I've been to a couple of them, like the Bayeux Cathedral in Bayeux. A big chunk of it was built by Odo, Bishop of Bayeux, who was the half brother of William the Conqueror. That's just crazy history right there. The St. Stephen's Cathedral, St. Antoine de Metz, which is the Metz Cathedral, has the most stained glass in the world, and it's just gorgeous. It's incredible. The day I was there, it was like actually kind of a sunny day, so it was just beautiful. Stuff like that. And they're just crazy repositories of history. I mean, Westminster Abbey, look how many famous, I mean, it's not Catholic anymore, but it started as a Catholic cathedral. Every to each their own, I guess.
Yeah. De Metz. You know who else is De Metz?
S.M. Sterling.
S.M. Sterling.
S.M. Sterling de Metz. Sterling of Metz.
Born in Metz, raised in Canada, and now a U.S. naturalized citizen, I think.
Lives in like the out west.
Yeah, along with.
But don't ask him about, as that one person pointed out in the comments, don't ask him about the Draka books.
It was a very dark time of my life.
That's an amazing comment. Thank you. If you're still listening, thank you for that, because we were like, this is amazing.
So remember that time we were looking at Amazon, and I was showing you that ridiculous Harry Turtleff book, The House of Daniel, which is that weird Depression era baseball book with magic and stuff in it, with zombies and like wizards and stuff. And I was showing you the reviews, and we saw S.M. Sterling reviewed it, gave it 5 stars. Fantastic.
Yes. This is amazing. It was like, we looked at it, we're like, wait, is that SM Sterling? Yeah, it's SM Sterling.
And he's been reviewing stuff since like 1996 on Amazon. It's crazy.
I love that. Dude, keep on doing it, man. You know what?
Yeah.
I don't fault him for a second. That's awesome.
And the books he likes are exactly the sort of books you think he'd like female kickboxing books. And, right up his alley.
Oh man, that's awesome. I'd forgotten about that.
There's a great picture of him when he was getting his American citizenship. He's holding a stuffed, not a stuffed bald eagle, but like a bald eagle, like plush toy or whatever. And he's wearing a big top hat with like red, white, and blue on it and stuff.
What?
Pretty funny looking.
That's pretty amazing. Nice. But no, one last thing about Metz is that I guess it's something that the kings and queens of England claim to be related to someone named Arnulf of Metz, who's like this 6th century figure from Metz, who claims descent from antiquity, which is a really interesting concept if you ever heard of it. Like people who claim to be directly related to like people from like the ancient time. And I guess Arnulf of Metz claimed to be a descendant of some proconsul or something like that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say somebody from the Bible, like somebody like...
There are people who've made claims like that. Also, well, the Japanese emperors claim to be an unbroken line from...
Amaterasu.
Amaterasu, the sun god, right?
Yeah, sun goddess.
Sun goddess? I don't know.
Yeah. But, interesting. Speaking of goddesses, radical feminism. So in this story, so Susan B. Anthony's supposed to give a speech, and at the end of the speech, all these women, there's like 150 women, are supposed to pull out a pistol, point it to the sky, and fire a single shot. Except Victoria Woodhull kind of throws a wrench in this plan because she dresses up like a man and pulls her gun out and then shoots by Susan B. Anthony's face. And everyone's like, oh my God, a man tried to kill Susan B. Anthony. So let's turn around and just start shooting all the men, all of them. just blasting them.
Oh, geez.
How is this, what's this revolution supposed to accomplish?
Yeah, like the end of the human, I don't know.
Yeah, like,
I mean,
Victoria, explain yourself.
I don't know. Yes. Well, what's next?
This is a really weird one.
Yeah.
The War of All Mothers. Mm-hmm. Mother Teresa. So when you hear...
Agnes Boiaciu.
Boiaciu?
That's, I think, how it's pronounced.
Huh.
Something like that.
I learned something.
From Albania.
Yes. Albania. What a interesting country. She must have been born in Enver Hoxha days, right?
No, she would have been born... Enver Hoxha... No, she would have been born like in like the Ottoman Turk era.
Oh, okay. Huh. Interesting.
Because she was like probably 90 or in her 90s when she died in the late 1990s. So she was probably born like 1906 or something like that, or somewhere around there.
That makes sense. Huh. But it's such a strange story because it takes place in India, right? And in this story, the divergence is that the little village she lived in, I can't remember the name of it, Kalagat or something like that. It gets nuked. Somebody like uses a suitcase nuke in it. And she's presumed dead. And for some reason, there's a new state of India. It's Trans India is the name of it. What?
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
The president's name is Singh, so I guess he's a Sikh, I guess. But so
Manmohan Singh.
Maho.
Manmohan Singh, the former prime minister of India.
Oh,
he was a Sikh.
That's cool.
Or some British people say Sikh.
Sikh. Oh, come on, Britain. British people also say Zhukov's name is Zhukov.
No, it isn't.
It's not Zhukov. That really grinded my gears about that Death of Stalin movie. Zhukov and that show Battlefield. You know, the show Battlefield.
Yeah,
that
that's
they
a great
used to
show.
air. It's an awesome show, but it's Zhukov this and Zhukov that.
Nah, man.
It's
Zhugi.
Zhugi. It's the Cyrillic letter that looks like an X with a line up and down through the middle of it. It's a very cool letter. But what was but Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. She takes over for Zhukov and runs the Soviet Red Army. No, just kidding.
So she's an outlaw. She's I guess people want to kill her for some reason. And the point of view character finds her and she's like, this is only the beginning. We're going to start rebuilding now. Big problem with this story. Mother Teresa, not an alternate warrior at all.
Yeah.
She doesn't shoot anybody or blow anything up. Like,
Yeah. We never know who detonated the device.
oh, maybe it was her. Yeah, that's the big twist,
Twisting it up.
I've got to create my myth, my legacy.
That's right. Well, not everyone thought Mother Teresa was the best.
Oh,
Christopher Hitchens. Really, I actually watched that documentary he did about it just because I'm like, I mean, it's such that's a very strong stance to take on Mother Teresa. So I was like, well, I might as well watch it.
does he make a case against her?
He does I don't know what you say strong, but it's a very aggressive case.
Yes.
So maybe he's the one behind this.
Oh,
Maybe we should cut that out because his estate's still around.
his estate's. Oh, well, we don't live in Great Britain, so we're fine. Not a problem.
No. Who knows? Either way, he wasn't a big fan of Mother Teresa.
One of my favorite people on YouTube is a guy.
Lindy Beige. No.
No, he's fine. He's an okay guy, but
The Universal Carrier is not a tank.
It is not a tank. Just want to remind you
Armor
of that.
Personnel Carrier.
Yes.
APC. They even have a term for it.
Yeah. It's not even all that armored.
Yeah.
Your head's sticking out the top of it. You're armoring only like your feet and your legs and your groin, and that's about it. The rest of your body's totally exposed to everything. But no, TIK or Tick, or I don't know what you want to call him, but he's a good guy. He's this British fella, and he's a big history buff, huge history buff, much more of a buff than pretty much anyone else on YouTube. He's awesome. And he did a review of the most recent Anthony Beevor book about Market Garden, and he said some very strongly worded criticisms of that book.
Really?
So much so that he deleted that video and then did a new video saying, I'm going to do a new review that's going to be a little bit less possibly libelous. Because I guess...
Their libel laws are very strong over in
very strong.
In the UK compared to ours.
Even though Beevor is American.
No, he's British.
Is he?
Anthony Beevor? Yeah, have you ever seen an interview with
A name
him?
like Anthony, I guess I should have seen this coming. And the last name like Beevor as well.
Yeah, he was a British armor officer.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, that's
Tank
really
officer.
cool. Huh.
There's a great interview with him on YouTube. It's like an hour long. He talks about his book. He wrote a history of the Second World War, and it was just like a general history. And there's some really interesting stuff in there.
He's wrote more specific histories, obviously.
Stalingrad, that's the most famous one. There's one about Berlin.
Yes, I'm almost done with that book about Berlin. It's very, very good.
Berlin. I remember talking to our guide when we were over in Normandy, and I talked about, I said I hadn't been to a whole lot of World War II sites. I've been to Berlin, which is the site of a battle. He's like, Berlin was more of an annihilation than a battle.
Oh, it's true, though.
I mean, they flattened that city.
Just Katyushas, lots and lots
You
of
go to
Katyushas.
Berlin, there's buildings that are just riddled with bullets. Like, you just see the side of it. Go to the Bendler block, which is still around, and there's just bullet holes everywhere. But you can go, which is so strange. It's an operating military base, and
Really?
the German military still uses the Bendler block. They actually allowed the movie Valkyrie to be filmed there.
Wow. Wow, that's really
So, like,
cool.
the place where Tom Cruise gets shot in that is pretty much right near where the actual guy got shot.
A lot of European military bases are very lax about that kind of thing.
Yes, I've been when I went to Bastogne, like the site where the little museum is, where Anthony McAuliffe's headquarters are on a Belgian military base, and we had a guide there too, and he's just like, okay, let's go, and we just like walked on and said hi to the guards, and just like, okay, come on in.
Do they
It's like this is like an active military base.
Do they even have weapons there?
Yes, they do.
Okay, well-
they also have a tank repair workshop there, and they
Wow.
took us into and we couldn't go to the place where they're actively working on it, but they have some restored tanks there that were crazy. It's like, this is awesome. It's like you're just looking out there. It's like, oh, they're working over there, and there's like a Panther turret right there, and they're just refurbishing it.
That's so cool.
And they said most of the tanks there work. They had an ISU 152. I'm like, where'd you get that? They're like, most of these tanks still work. That was fun.
What a cool job to do.
Restoring tanks.
Yeah.
I guess that's what they're keeping their soldiers busy with.
Not using them.
Belgium will never fall
You
to the
know,
Luxembourgish invasion.
Belgium did have a significant army during World War II. It fell, but only because it's up against someone so much bigger than it. But, hey, Netherlands,
the Netherlands. That's how
Nederland.
they say it. Netherlands.
Nederlander. But so that
Kind of completes the War of All Mothers.
yeah, really Mother Teresa
Kind of a strange one.
just puts the cap right on it. Very strange story. Very strange.
Yeah, not my favorite.
The guy who wrote this wrote a later story about Stephen Hawking, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Oh,
here.
we'll get to that one.
That one's really amazing.
Then the next one is Jihad. It's about T.E. Lawrence.
Orange.
Yeah. Max and I watched at least part of.
We attempted to watch.
Yeah, that is a long ass movie.
We were watching it with my grandpa. My grandpa was like, "Oh, it's about 2 hours, 20 minutes." No, it's about 220 minutes, actually. It's a big difference.
Yeah, that's a.
Like hour 3, and barely anything has happened in this movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It is a fine film. It's just movies are made differently these days. You know?
Yeah.
I remember when we first started watching it, and it was just music and a black screen. And we were thinking, is the movie broken?
Yeah. Do we think, is there something wrong with the screen? Like, nope. No, it's just, let's listen to that beautiful score for a little while.
Because you're not going to hear it enough during the film. You're going to hear the theme 10 million times.
Oh, boy. But in this one, basically, he's captured and he's like tortured by that Turkish guy, the Bey. But he like has this religious conversion, becomes a Muslim. And he becomes like, he's just like super convert.
Yeah.
And he like unites this Arab army and he takes Damascus before the British. Like they get to Damascus and there's already his army there. And he's just going to take everything now.
And he's united everyone. All of the Arab tribes, Sunnis, Shias, even Druze, all come together under his banner.
What about the Alawites?
Alawites. They did not mention the Alawites. Alawis. But wow, this is a pretty interesting story. It's a pretty cool story. And at the end of it, he like talks to the guy that's in the movie, the guy that's in charge, and he's like, "Well, next we're going to Iraq, and then Yemen. We're taking Yemen back too.
Yeah.
The Aden Protectorate.
Yeah.
We'll be protecting that real good."
Yeah. The Brits are going to hold on. That actually the implications of this is, I like this one because the implications of it are crazier than the like, well, there's a lot of him like internal struggle after he's been tortured and all this sort of stuff like that. But more like, what does that look like? Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like
What's the future hold for this?
The
place?
Laurentian Emirate. I remember reading there's like something on the internet, like where some people had just put up some stories and one of them was talking about the Laurentian Emirate. It's like T.E. Lawrence converting to sort of similar to this, I guess.
Is that website where it was a scenario every day or something?
Well, no, there's that Today an Alternate History thing. And then there was also this other one where it was like these alternate history travel guides. And I haven't been able to find it for years. Maybe it's like it's somewhere. But I remember there's some good ones on that. And that was one of them, I think. But either way, this is an interesting idea. And it really changes the post-war dynamic. What are the British going to do? Are they going to probably have to fight him?
Well, there's a
Sykes-Picot agreement doesn't sound like it's going to be working anymore.
No. The original Sykes-Picot agreement was the Sykes-Picot and then some Russian guy. Because originally Russia was supposed to get the Dardanelles. They were supposed to get the Straits.
Constantinople belongs to Russia. Holy Mother Russian soil.
And they actually called it Constantinople until they moved it to the capital to Ankara, and then it became Istanbul.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like people who lived there called it
was
Istanbul.
like all Iskandariya is what it is, like in Turkish, I think. I was about to say Arabic, but no. I don't speak Arabic.
They do
Just
not
like the
speak
Iranians. They're Muslim too, but they do not speak Arabic.
Yeah, Egypt.
You go to Indonesia, the world's largest Muslim country. What language do they speak? A whole bunch of them.
Lots
Indonesians,
of them.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Pakistan, massive Muslim country. Urdu. Afghanistan, they speak all different types of stuff.
All types of stuff. Tajik, Pashtun.
Pashto, yeah.
Yeah.
You go to Somalia, they speak Somali there.
Yeah. What about Eritrea? Do they speak Eritrean?
Eritrean, I guess. Yes.
Or Amharic or whatever?
It's an Amharic type of language.
Oh, the same alphabet? But
yeah, because the Arabic, obviously anywhere you go, you're probably going to find the Quran in Arabic, but the people do not speak it. It's their liturgical language, but it's not there. Well, just like Hebrew was until the revival of the Hebrew language in the early 1900s, Hebrew was merely the liturgical language of the Jewish people.
Or Latin, for instance. Latin was the language of the Catholic Church until living memory.
There are people around who, when they were going to Catholic Mass growing up, it was all in Latin.
Some people still do it in Latin.
Yeah, you can, the Tridentine Mass. And some people, some more conservative Catholics, still seek it out. That'd be interesting to hear, a Tridentine Mass.
Pax Vobiscum.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, even in the Arabic language, it's not like everyone speaks the same Arabic.
No, that's true.
Yeah, you go to Morocco, you go to Egypt, you go all over the place. They're going to speak Arabic differently.
Yeah. Nice. Who's next?
Who is next? Sam Clemens and the Notable Mayor. This is a fun story. Okay, it's not a. It's different from most of the stories in this thing. It's written in the style of Mark Twain because obviously Sam Clemens
is Mark Twain. Samuel Clemens.
Mark Twain's actual name.
Yeah. Samuel Langhorne Clemens.
Langhorne? Yee. Whoa. But in this story, it's when he's living in Nevada during the Civil War. And in the course of the story, some family members of his strike it rich with silver in Nevada, and he's got to bring these certificates or whatever to New York City. So on the way, he passes through Kansas, or is it Kentucky? I don't remember. Anyway, the point is that
Kansas with his Quantrill Raiders who show up in it. Yes, Kansas.
Yeah.
They sacked the city of Lawrence and murdered a whole bunch of people.
Right.
The Quantrill's Raiders they were basically outlaws. They basically, there was a lot of bushwhacking and cattle rustling, and a lot of these people just kind of took sides, but kind of used the war as a kind of a cover to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, redleggers or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But
Jayhawkers.
Jayhawkers.
Yeah, that's where that's a term for like pro-union bushwhackers, basically, and then you have Quantrill's Raiders and stuff like that.
Of which
Jesse and Frank James were in his organization.
You could call it that, yeah.
Sure.
They show up in the story very briefly.
Yeah.
They also show up in Deadliest Warrior.
Oh, that's right. They take on Al Capone, and somehow a rifle is a better weapon to use in a closely confined space than a submachine gun.
With a gigantic drum magazine.
Yeah.
And that's why in that episode, there's a big old Confederate flag in their wax museum exhibit or whatever. Also, real gold coins and real guns that are loaded.
Yeah, loaded. They don't have to.
Just like Demolition Man.
That's right. Yes.
What is your boggle?
What is your boggle? How much do you weigh? There's a guy.
And he gets a H&K G11.
Yeah, but it's like a superpower, like shoots like weird.
Did not shoot balls of energy in real life.
No, it doesn't. Just caseless ammunition.
Yeah, what a gun.
Yeah.
What a gun. You look inside one of those things and it's like, what is
They
this?
even shoot a cannon at one point, remember? They shoot a cannon. It's like, they don't.
Come on, Sylvester, please.
Yeah. What is your boggle?
My boggle?
The bad guy in that is like kind of over the top.
Which bad guy?
Well, multiple bad
Simon
guys. Phoenix, of course.
Phoenix.
And then the guy who's like, he calls him the evil Mr. Rogers.
Oh, yeah. The guy running the place.
Yeah.
In the robe.
Yeah. Dr. I was about to say Ferratu, but no.
Ferratu.
No, Coach Ferratu from Rick and Morty.
Okay.
That's the one where they're like, there's a vampire in the school. It's like, I never suspected Coach Ferratu could have been the vampire.
Nosferatu also shows up in SpongeBob SquarePants.
That's right, yeah. And they're,
Nosferatu.
And he's like, it's really scary the first time you see it. And he's like switching the light on and on.
That is a good job.
That's the hash-slinging slasher one.
Yeah. 1920s or 1910s, I can't remember.
1920s.
I mean, they did a good job with that.
Yeah.
The makeup.
No.
Making it spooky.
Whatever. I'll remember the guy's name later. But long story short, that movie is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know if this has anything to do with Sam Clemens. But Sam Clemens, by the way, Confederate soldier for a brief while.
That's right. They mentioned that in How Few Remain. That's a big scandal because it's like, wait a second, you're a Confederate veteran? And he's like in San Francisco. And who runs San Francisco? I can't remember. It's Sherman. Sherman runs San Francisco in that book. He's like in charge of the defense of the port, and he doesn't do a very good job because the British.
Yeah, they raid the mint.
Another pretty odd story in this is called The Firebringers.
Yeah.
It's very strange because it's all these Hollywood actors, like Humphrey Bogart, Gary Cooper. It's all these people. For some reason, they're all in the United States military.
Yeah.
And all the way up to like the president. Like the president's like some other.
It was dumb. I didn't like this one.
It's really weird.
I did not like it.
It doesn't make any sense either. Because like, is everyone in America just a Hollywood actor? Is America only a couple hundred people? Is Hitler an actor in this world? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But they just, like, they're on a mission to drop a nuke and they don't do it. They turn around and say, "We're not doing this. Let's head home, guys."
Yeah, so we can be promptly executed
for treason.
For treason. Well, there's like a Kim Stanley Robinson story where that happens, where it's like a different crew is taking the atomic bomb and they convince him not to drop it, and they're like, "We're going back. We've brought peace." It's like, well, they're gonna just like shoot you. Like when you come back, like you were just gonna be shot.
There's also another nuke, so
Yeah, they'll just find someone else to drop it for you. No, they drop it like outside the city or something like that. They in a lowly populated area or something like that. But long story short, you just signed your own death warrant.
Yeah,
they're gonna shoot you. They're gonna shoot you a whole lot.
This is the 1940s, buddy.
Yeah.
This ain't the 2010s. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're gonna be like, "Oh, nope, bye." So next is Standing Firm, and this one's about Chamberlain, Neville Chamberlain. He gets a spine. And he's like, "Nope, we're going to war over the Sudetenland." And Churchill is like an appeaser, which is weird because he wasn't.
He definitely was not in real life. Definitely was not. He said something to the effect of, "If Hitler invaded hell, I'd put a good word in for Satan in the House of Commons," or something like that. Like, he really did not like the Nazis or the Nazis, as he called them.
Nazis. The Nazi rule. The oppression of the Nazi rules.
So yeah, Chamberlain goes through these negotiations like, if Hitler pulls anything, we're invading immediately. We're declaring war immediately, which
logistically would have been a problem. Well, for both sides, because the German army was not ready for war in September 1938. And I'm going to tell you, too, neither really was Britain. Like, that year was a big year for, like, development of aircraft and stuff like that, and getting the British Army more ready for war. Because basically by the invasion of Czechoslovakia in March 1939, there's some people who were like, "We're going to war at some point." That was a key crucial time.
Not to mention France, too. Like, in real life, there was all that time, the phony war, the Saarland offensive, the quote-unquote offensive, which is just
where they raided, like, 2 towns and never did much.
I think it's in the Storm of War, how they mentioned how, like, they wanted to bomb some German industrial areas, but they were like, "But so much of it is private property, though. We can't do that. We might get sued."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Bomber Harris didn't care about that. That's for sure.
Yeah, times change.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And Czechoslovakia is nothing to mess around with. I mean, they got a huge military, huge.
Fort size, yeah.
And their tanks are way better than the Germans.
And weapons.
Like, what is it, the T-30, T-28?
No, the Germans actually took some of their tanks and used them because they're so good.
On the Eastern
And they
Front.
also came up with, like, the Bren gun is a Czech design.
Oh, wait, did the British copy it from
Yeah,
them?
basically copied it and changed it a little bit, yeah. But there's, like, the original Czech version is pretty cool looking.
It's got the magazine on top.
Yeah.
You know who else did that? Japan.
Yeah, which they copied from as well, yeah, that one.
The type something or other.
Yeah, there's so many types. But they didn't use those ridiculous pan-fed, the like strip, the Hotchkiss style.
Come on. Don't do that.
Nah, man.
Nah, man. There's one of those.
It's all about shows. That's
My dad was telling me there's some book about guns, and the guy talks about a version of the Hotchkiss gun. Maybe it's an Italian version of it or whatever. But it left the casings in the magazine after it fired, so it left a very tidy battlefield. Unfortunately, it was also a piece of crap, like jams all the time and stuff. But
those strip clip, those don't
do that. Please don't.
Well, like, why is that better than a belt?
It isn't. That's the short answer.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but interesting. That, and friggin' Turtle Dove did his whole The War That Came Early series basically in the exact same circumstances as this.
Yeah.
They go to war over Czechoslovakia, and the war starts like a year earlier. Mm-hmm. And it's
hence the war that came early.
The war that came early, exactly. It's a good series. Mm-hmm. A bit long.
Yeah.
A bit longer than it needs to be, I'll just say. A lot. It's the classic turtledovism of like, let's read the same exact chapter about a Stuka pilot.
Did you know Sam Karsten burns easily?
He doesn't like the sun very much. Not at all. Has to put on zinc oxide. Just the same dang thing. Floor Hamburger calling up FDR once again. How's that super bomb coming?
Well, goodness. Well, what's next? This one is a crazy one that's next. Mind Over Matter. About the true alternate warrior, Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. So the POV character is a friend of Stephen Hawking. Mm-hmm. Hawking's. Mm-hmm. They like do emails back and forth between one another. And one night he gets an email from Stephen that's basically a suicide note. He's saying like, they did it to Einstein, they did it to Oppenheimer, and they did it to me, the bastards. I'm going to die tonight, and you're going to see what's going to happen tomorrow. But just know that I died fighting, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And the next day, something really amazing happens. Something insane happens. So the guy like wakes up and he sees the morning news, and there's the president and the quote unquote prime minister. I guess prime minister of Britain, maybe Canada. I don't know. So they're gloating about how they've activated the Hawking device, and they've blinked out Tripoli, Beijing, Baghdad, and Tehran with miniaturized black holes, and that this is now going to usher in an era of peace. Like, what?
Yeah, what the that it made no sense.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? Why? There's no reason.
I think they just someone wanted to write a story about Stephen Hawking.
It's not World War II anymore, guys. You can't just do that. You can't blow up cities anymore.
Yeah, you can't just... That made no sense.
And, like, you're not even declared... Like, China's got so many people in it. Like, Beijing's, like, what, 20 million people? 20 million people live in Beijing. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot more Chinese people out there. So, mm-hmm. like, what are you going to do? Nuke all... Or, I'm sorry, Hawking all of them? You're just going to blink everybody out of existence? Like, what even planet are you going to live in by the end of this?
It's just dumb. Yeah.
And Tripoli. Why Tripoli?
That annoying Muammar Gaddafi.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's just ridiculous.
It is. Yeah, that one didn't make a whole lot of sense. But it's kind of a funny pick for an alternate warrior.
Yeah, maybe Stephen Hawking should have been on the cover of this. Him, like, typing his email out. Put with a giant explosion behind him. And like a Glock 11 in his hand, like shooting it. You'll never take me alive.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. It's funny.
The next story is an interesting choice for an alternate warrior. The story is called Unmerited Favor, and it's about Jesus, Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And I thought this was going to be a really offensive story, but not really. Yeah. So Jesus is giving a sermon in Gethsemane, and during his sermon, he basically says, and anybody who's tired of the Romans being in charge, meet me back here tonight, and we'll do something about it. So... Thomas, the Apostle Thomas, is the point of view character. This is the first time he's ever seen Jesus in his life. Mm-hmm. They all meet up again. He hands out weapons. Everyone's got a weapon. And he's like, we're going to go fight demons. And everyone's very confused. They're like, wait, I thought we were going to fight the Romans. I don't understand what's going on here. And then there's a big argument that breaks out. Clouds pass over the moon, so nobody can see anything anymore. A fight breaks out. And at the end of this, a zealot... who was like this impresario for Jesus earlier before he gave his talk. And Jesus himself are both dead. And Jesus has been pierced with the spear in the side. So, hey, parallelism, same thing happening. And then everyone splits up and leaves. And but the implication is that basically the same thing that happened in real life is going to happen. People are going to continue to preach his message and all this stuff. It's just that his death is completely different. circumstances. But it's still like, the aspect of betrayal of his own people and blah, 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 that kind of thing. So averted, really offending a lot of people with this story. It's not as bad as it could have been. And it's one of the blurbs on the back of the book. It's like, what if Jesus talked to his apostles and handed out swords?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will point out that he's not really an alternate warrior in this story.
Yeah.
Not really.
Not really. No. Not particularly.
That's a theme with a couple of these stories.
Yeah. Some of them aren't exactly alternate warriors.
Yeah. But someone who is an alternate warrior, though, this next story, Death of a Dream. Mm-hmm. It's the second story
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King in it. So Martin Luther King kills the president in this story.
Yep.
He's an assassin. Mm-hmm.
What happens is that J. Edgar Hoover gives this speech, like, destroying Martin Luther King's reputation. And because of that, like, the civil rights movement kind of goes off track and all sorts of stuff like that. And at this point, Richard Daley, who was the long-term mayor of Chicago, becomes president. And they basically imply Jimmy Carter is his vice president. And Martin Luther King is, like, dying of cancer in the story. And he's like, and he shoots Richard Daley in the head and, like, basically knows he's going to get killed. But he's like, well, I want Carter to become president because maybe, like, race relations will get better.
And what a backfiring that'll be when he actually does become president.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Surge of rabbits.
And it's this terrible dystopian future because the civil rights movement never actually happens, and there's actually like a big reaction against it. Black people in America are not allowed to go to college, and they're in a much worse position than they are in real life. And Martin Luther's like, there's only one way to solve this. Killing the president. That's always the best way to further any cause of yours. Murdering a politician.
Yeah.
No. But I didn't really know who this Daley guy was. I'd never heard of him before.
Richard Daley, well, his son was mayor for a really long time. Richard Daley was mayor for a really long time, kind of running the political machine up there. So.
Well, to Daley fans, this is not a story for you because
I guess so.
Yeah. And the last story I think we're going to talk about is really has all of our favorite things in alternate history. It's called Monsieur, Verne and the Martian Invasion is the name of it. Oh boy, here we go. It's so it starts off. Jules Verne is at a christening for his newest airship that he's built. The Terror is the name of it. Which
it's a good name.
It's a good name, but why would you name your airship after the famous lost polar expedition ship? Like when there was a expedition to find the Northwest Passage in I think the 1840s, and the HMS Terror and the HMS Erebus both went missing, and
found again.
It's like, come on, why? It's like naming your. It's like the movie Sunshine, wherein they send a spaceship to the sun to go restart the sun, and they call it the USS Icarus is the name of it. Like you're dooming yourself to failure here.
Yeah, exactly.
Daedalus, much better choice. Much better choice.
The USS Daedalus.
But yeah, this is a steampunk story. Yeah, our favorite thing, isn't it? So there's airships, and there's actually a mission to the moon in it. So a bunch of people are in a spaceship, and they land on the moon, and they find an alien spacecraft there. And inside the alien spacecraft, there's like this psychic alien. It's like an energy being who transfers between bodies. So he jumps into the body of one of the astronauts, and then jumps from there to there a couple more times, and he ends up getting to Earth, and he wants to take over the Earth. He wants to rule the Earth by himself. So the best way to do this is to get into the pilot of this, SS Terror airship or whatever, and somehow that's going to have him rule the Earth, I guess. It's the Dr. Loveless problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But in this world, Jules Verne is an inventor. He's not a writer. He's like this famous scientist and inventor. And he gets in his own airship, and there's a big airship fight at the end of it. And Jules wins, and that's pretty much the end. The aliens are defeated. Hooray. And then there's this really dumb joke at the very end of it where it's like, the alien tried to convince me I was just a mere writer. Ho, ho, ho. What a fantasy. Ah.
Oh my God.
The end.
Thanks.
Yeah. Wells, H.G. Wells, is an author in this book, though.
Is he?
They talk about Monsieur Wells. This is just like one of Monsieur Wells's stories.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Aliens? What?
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds. The shape of things to come.
That's right.
What a story that is. What a ridiculous story.
Is that the one with the planes?
Yes, the air police. We're going to create League of Nations 2.0, the air police. We're all going to join together and use our airplanes to radically shape society. We're going to take over all the countries on Earth and force people to not have religion anymore, because that's going to fix everything. They go. It's such a dumb story. It's so stupid. They go to Mecca and they put all the imams in prison, and all the common people are like, "Yay! Thanks, air police. You've solved all of our problems now. Yay!" They knock the Pope out with sleeping gas and arrest him too. It's really stupid.
So they just constantly flying? Are they based out of any one location?
You got me there. I'm not sure. I think it's blimps. I think they got a bunch of blimps and a bunch of conventional aircrafts as well. Blimpy. It's like that movie Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what it kind of sounded like to me. That movie was dumb.
With Angelina Jolie with an eye patch.
Yeah, that's right. And they used something Laurence Olivier, some stock footage of Laurence Olivier saying stuff that didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Oh no, really?
He was
was he Dr. Totemkopf?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was stock footage of him, but it's he's not saying things that seem to be related to this. No wonder he died 20 years before this movie was made.
It's like Plan 9 from Outer Space with Bela Lugosi. Which is another thing, in that dumb The Firebringers story, they talk about the nuclear scientists who made the bomb, and they talk about, Dr. Karloff and Dr. Lugosi.
Oh, that's so stupid.
And Dr. Laurie. And they put the Jewish prayer for the dead on it. It's Adonai, whatever, all that thing.
The Mourner Scottish?
Yeah. Samuel Goldwyn says the same thing in the Southern Victory books, when they blow up Savannah or something like that. None of those actors are Jewish, though. None of them are. Karloff is a British guy.
Yeah.
Lugosi is,
he was Hungarian.
And Laurie is German.
I thought he may have been Jewish. I don't know.
I don't know. He was in M, though, and that was a movie that the Nazis put on a pedestal. It's a good movie, though. I like M. It's a fine film. It's very well made. But Peter Lorre, I don't know.
Peter Lorre.
Karloff. His name is not Karloff. It's a normal Anglo name.
Yeah, but it sounded more exotic.
Exotic.
Boris Karloff.
Have you ever seen the excellent Frank Capra film Arsenic and Old Lace?
Maybe. I don't think so.
There's the two grandmas who are killing people.
I think I've seen part of it.
It's a funny movie. Well, the main character's brother, in the stage version, this character was played by Boris Karloff. But in the movie, they got some other guy. And everyone in the movie's like, hey, you kind of look like Boris Karloff, to be honest with you. Because he's this ghoulish guy who's got stitches all over his face.
What?
It's a great movie. I love it.
Nice.
But is there anything you'd want to see in an Alternate Warriors 2?
Well, it's not going to happen because this movie is 25 years old. This book. But no, you just find someone who is very peaceful and make them not.
Yeah.
Or you could switch up what they do. That's another thing,
Yeah, Lawrence T.E. Lawrence is definitely a warrior, but under different circumstances.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter O'Toole becomes
Kofi Annan becomes. We're going to take over America as the United Nations.
Oh, geez. I'd have to think. I don't know. There's none that really stand out to me as really, they really missed out on this one,
Yeah, they kind of cover all the obvious ones.
Confucius.
Lao Tzu.
Yeah, Sun Tzu has already been covered as a warrior.
Yeah, he's the deadliest warrior,
Yeah,
actually.
well, it wasn't that deadly.
He wasn't deadly enough.
Shoot that thing
Shoot you with a gun.
that weird crossbow thing. So stupid. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh gee. Yeah, Confucius, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Justin Trudeau. How about that?
Well, Pierre Trudeau shows up in the alternate tyrants one.
Really?
Yeah.
We got to do that one too.
Yeah, we'll do alternate tyrants. We should do that one.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to do alternate Kennedys.
Yeah, I don't think so either. That one looks really weird.
Yeah.
Really weird.
It's kind of strange. The one where John F. Kennedy like survives assassination and he's like 90 years old, but like has the mind of a child. And it's like, today's my 91st birthday.
Does he get like partially shot? Or
Yes,
something?
I guess so. But he had Addison's disease. He was his health was a wreck. Even before.
Would he have survived his presidency if he was not murdered?
I think so. I don't know.
Okay. But that was only his first term, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, he'd have another 4 years after that one was done. So.
If he won re-election.
If he won re-election, yeah.
Maybe Nixon will be back.
Yeah, Nixon's back.
Nixon's back. That's from Futurama.
That's right, yeah.
No, I can't think of any much more. I mean, maybe I don't like mine as ridiculous as some of these.
Yeah, and these are most of these are really silly. Like, really. Which I guess is kind of the point.
Yeah.
You don't go into alternate warriors looking for, like, Saras level realism.
That's right. And then this division moved here. It's like, this is more about
What if
Julius Nayeri punching Idi Amin in the crotch.
I would also like to do that alternate general stuff. You told me about.
We got to do alternate generals. There's some good ones in there. Maybe because I like military history. So
yeah, I mean, military history is pretty much the most interesting.
It is
part
the
of
most
history.
Interesting.
There's like people who talk about history. They don't talk about like, the land reform bill. The silver standard. Like nobody cares. Nobody remembers any of this. Not to say nobody cares, but I mean. It's not as sexy.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right. No, you read the alternate general stuff. There's 3 of them, and obviously it was popular because there's 3 of them. There's no alternate warriors too, but there's 3 alternate generals.
Well, that's because you got Turtle Dove in charge, and that man knows how to write several books on the same subject.
Many times. Many times over. Several books. And alternate tyrants. Read alternate tyrants. I have that. If I haven't loaned it to you, I will. That's the one with Douglas MacArthur in the front and a kimono.
That's on my wish list for my birthday, so
yeah.
I'll be getting that.
Yeah, General San.
General San.
That's what they refer to him as.
Oh no, is he more of a? He should be the Shogun, really?
He is kind of. It's interesting.
Okay,
it's very interesting. Huh. Good stuff. Well, I think this is us wrapping up. This is Max.
This is Matt.
This is Matt signing off,
and this is Max signing off.
Have a good day, guys.